Hi, I'm back. Alrighty. This one is going to be a little bit change of pace. It's going to be about my predictions for WrestleMania 32. Now, anybody that, follows wrestling knows about the John Cena injury. Looks like he's going to miss WrestleMania. So that's definitely not a positive thing for WWE at all. The guy's got to, repair himself. He fucking works out like a fucking monster, He's going to get some wear and tear. So he gets something with his arm. I don't know which one, honestly. But yeah, he's going to be out for at least 6 months. So that is definitely gonna affect WrestleMania 32. Now, obviously, anybody that follows wrestling in the last few months knows that the Undertaker has been a lot more active than he has been in the last, I don't know, almost like 5 years now. He has been, let's count it. He defeated Bray Wyatt for no apparent reason at WrestleMania 31 last year. So that was one. Came back for SummerSlam. He was there for Hell in a Cell and Survivor Series. So I think I got that right. Obviously he made his appearances in between and everything like that, but yeah, he's definitely been in a lot more. He's been in a lot more action and competed a lot more this year than this past year, 2015, than in any in the years prior. So my prediction for the Undertaker match is just, you already know that I'm going to go there with that, with the, me being a really hardcore Undertaker fan. I would love to see him go against Sting. I can't really see how anybody that has watched wrestling ever since they were a little kid would not want to see that happen. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, those two guys carried their companies through the rockiest times of their companies. And there's no reason why, considering, Sting has not won a match since he has wrestled. He's only wrestled twice. And one of the matches was a title match, which was, I think, kind of ridiculous. But I don't really think how somebody could just walk into a title match, especially after losing his first match with the company. But, I do like Sting, but I just look at it from the whole spectrum. Because there are a lot of other guys that could have gotten that shot. But, they just had to throw him in there. I don't know, man. I don't know what they're thinking anymore. I really don't. But I really do think they should utilize Sting a lot more. They should have him be in a lot more storylines. They are kind of... he is... Especially when he evolved into that whole, Crow Sting, he definitely became an entity in WCW as opposed to just, a really big fan favorite. When he started just, laying in the crowd. He wasn't trying to be like The Undertaker, but just the mystique about him kind of was in comparison to The Undertaker in that sense. And I think since they have both of these guys still, yes, they are, granted, on the almost the end of their careers, but they're still in the same company. They still can compete. I think they should make it happen. I don't see why they wouldn't make it happen. Just to have this dream match and see how it goes. I know these guys are both, in their 50s and everything like that, but I still think it would be a great match. I still think they could pull it off, and it'll just be a great thing to see. And, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you on this. I really think the promos and the whole lore of everything leading up to the match would probably be a lot better than the match itself, maybe. I'm just going there with that. So that's just how that is. But it's still something I want to see. I want to see how it would play out. Now, okay, anybody that follows the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast on the WWE Network knows that he had a podcast with Paul Heyman one time, and he was hinting the fact that he wanted to face Brock Lesnar at the WrestleMania, because I think it's in Texas this year. Oh man, it's going to be wild. Yeah, it's going to be in Texas this year. So, he wants to face... they were toying with the idea that Brock Lesnar will want to face off against Stone Cold Steve Austin. And, obviously Stone Cold hasn't wrestled in over 10 years. I would have liked to see him return against CM Punk. If they would have ever made that match happen, I think that would have been a great one. I think they would have pulled off a great match. I don't really know how his regimen is, but Austin looks like he's still in great shape. He looks like he can still go. As far as that goes and everything like that, Brock Lesnar's a freaking monster. We already know that. And he could, if he really wanted to, he could probably decimate anybody on the roster, like in real life. But yeah, that's another thing. But, Brock Lesnar versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I'm sure there's already been tons of people already talking about this. I don't know if they're going to make it happen, and I would like to see it happen. I don't know. Now, anybody that follows wrestling to the extent of like knowing the history, I mean, this is a while ago. This was like almost 15 years ago this happened. When Brock Lesnar was on the rise, and Stone Cold was basically supposed to do the honors for him one time in the Royal Rumble 2002, the qualifying match. It was on Raw. It was supposed to be on Raw. Austin walked out on that. He did not do that for him. He refused to do it. He legitimately left. Like, it wasn't no bullshit. He actually left. So, wasn't a publicity stunt. He really left. He really left. It wasn't a part of the script. And, they actually said it. He said, you didn't want to, do the honors for me and do the work. Or, do the job, as they say, or whatever the fuck they say with the wrestling terms. So he didn't want to do that for him. Now, I don't know, man. It was a wild time for that. And, he obviously admits that was one of his mistakes and everything like that. But I still think that this, even right now, it could still be a great match for WrestleMania. It would definitely be one of the main events because WrestleMania has evolved to having so many main events just in general. It'd be a great way for Austin to return. It would be, it would just be, it would be a colossal match. It'd definitely be one of the main events. And Brock Lesnar, he could, tear apart whoever, but it's still Stone Cold. I don't know, man. That would be a great match. I'd like to see what happens. I really think Austin could still compete. He seems like he's still in great shape to me every time he's on those podcasts and everything like that. So, I mean, I don't know. But, we'll see what happens. I mean, they were toying with the idea. If he did it, it probably would just be a return match and wouldn't be anything else. Like, he wouldn't come back to competing full-time. I mean, a lot of these guys aren't really full-time anyway. They compete, 3-4 events. I don't know. I guess it does set them apart from other entities in wrestling. But I do think they should build a lot more stars. People have been saying that for years, but I mean, people wouldn't be constantly saying that if it wasn't true. They have to, think for the future. And I mean, I think they are trying with Reigns. They see that he has grown in popularity and, actually has been improving as a worker and everything like that. He's definitely, on the mic, I think he's definitely improved. I don't see how anybody can argue that. But, I mean, just in general, I mean, they do need more stars. They still need more people for him to compete against. And, I don't really see people caring about Sheamus anymore, to be honest. He had a little bit of He had a little bit of a buzz when he came back, but it wasn't what I think people were expecting. Even though he did actually win the title, by cashing in, what was it, like a few weeks ago now. But yeah, anyway, there's also another big person out that, obviously lost the title in the Survivor Series. Lost the title before the Survivor Series, and that is Seth Rollins. Now, with him being out, puts a damper because they could have had him face Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania, maybe. I guess they could have did that, even though they did the triple threat, the year before with the cash-in. And, kind of messed up a pretty good match in the sense of we saw what we thought we were going to see, in a sense of these two giants colliding against each other. And just the whole vibe of everything was just the way that I honestly envisioned that it would be. So I really feel that, Rollins is, kind of a crybaby. Yes, he is. But he's also a really good worker. And I think he's always been a good worker. I think he has improved. I think he could put on a great match with practically anybody. I think he can, he's kind of like Bret Hart in a way that he could tell a story with his matches. And I think him and Dean Ambrose have very good chemistry when they face each other. But yeah, I mean, with him being out, and he was actually out for, during, when they had that Survivor Series tournament, he was out, I think, like a few weeks before that. So they had the tournament leading up to it, and they had it at Survivor Series. And they actually had a tournament for the Survivor Series back in 1998 when they screwed over Mankind. And that was the entire pay-per-view, was just the tournament to see who would be the new WWE champion. WWE or WWF at the time, actually, champion. Whatever. You know what I mean. So, that's just that. And there's also, you know, Rollins is another big card, and just in, you know, playing, you know, in these superstars that they've been trying to, and they have not been trying to do it overnight. That they have not been doing. They have been trying to gradually build these guys up. That I will say. But he's definitely a big player that they do probably need for WrestleMania, I would say. Like I said, Cena is out also. What else? I mean, I would definitely want to see, I don't know. I mean, you know, they have this League of Nations now, and they would probably throw them either in a Money in a Bank match, or, you know, have them in some kind of tag match with, like, another crazy faction. And, you know, you also need Bray Wyatt to face against somebody. Who would Bray Wyatt want to go against? Who could you put him against at this point? He seems to always want to target all the baby faces, but I don't see him competing for the title yet. I don't honestly think he's up to it yet. Just in his, I don't really think people really care about Bray Wyatt as much as they did maybe a year and a half ago, to the point of him being in the title picture to that extent. Now, when he faced Daniel Bryan back in Royal Rumble, what year was that? 2014. That was a great match. Definitely showed what Bray Wyatt could do, what he could bring to the table, and, you know, that probably was one of his best matches that he's ever had. Bray Wyatt, I'm talking about. And, you know, another guy, you know, and like I was saying also before about with Stone Cold, I mean, back a few years ago now, you had CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Those two should have been in the main event of, what the hell WrestleMania was that now? They should have been in the main event of WrestleMania 30. There's no question about that. Whoever wants to argue that, you could come leave the comments down below. I don't care. I will argue that till the end of time. Those two guys should have been in the main event for the WWE Championship. There's no question. Those two were the guys. They were the newer, you know, and it's the thing, like, when McMahon, he doesn't like to build up the guys that are just honestly not as big as the ones that are bigger. It's just the way it goes. But, I mean, those two were the ones that should have been in that main event for the title match in WrestleMania 30. But, I mean, you know, you don't forget, you know, Punk is also out, and he probably won't return. I don't really see him returning anymore. I really wanted him to, but he's not gonna. It's been almost 2 years now since, you know, Royal Rumble 2014, when he walked out the night after, or basically the night of, really, after he left. And then Daniel Bryan has been out with an injury almost over a year now, so almost 2 years too, I think, something like that. Because, I mean, he won the title. He was out a few months later after that, and he hasn't been back since. He's been in a few appearances, but I don't know. I mean, he's another one that they really, I don't know. I mean, he did have a really good run. He, you know, as far as being the underdog in the sense of not playing it off like that, but people gravitate toward him anyway, in the sense of they saw where he was coming from. Like, I think CM Punk was, I mean, I do like CM Punk's character, don't get me wrong, but I think he tried to play it off, like trying to be a rebel, like, to the point of, like, this is all I am. Not all I am, but I think Daniel Bryan did it like, I'm just trying to friggin' make it and be who I am. And I think people gravitated towards that because it was more of like a natural thing. But with Punk, I think he was trying to be like the rebel kind of dude. And I definitely know that's how he really is in real life. You could tell, like, he really, what he's saying is really what he really thinks and stuff like that. But his character could have had a little bit more to it, to the extent of not just being that. I don't know. I did like Punk, though. I mean, I thought he was a really good bad guy. So, by him being like that, I guess it fits really good. And, honestly, Seth Rollins almost, not even really, though. I think Punk was a better bad guy than Seth Rollins was, to be honest. Because he just, I don't know, like, you could just listen to Punk and just tell that he means it. He's just a fucking asshole. Like, he just doesn't give a fuck. I don't know. Like, it was organic with him. But, you know, it's that's all that aside. Now, you know, you got those guys out, and now, you know, who else? there's like so many guys out there that if they give them a good push, they would definitely be top contenders for the title. And I mean, you have Dean Ambrose. He's a great worker. I mean, he's got his own style going on, but I mean, I don't know. Who are you going to throw him against? He's feuded with Bray Wyatt for, forever. I honestly don't think people want to see him fight him again, to be honest. They have to find a contender for him. You have to spicing up the tag team division. Maybe you'll have some kind of like tag team ladder match or something like that because it's WrestleMania, so you have to do something crazy. Do like maybe a TLC. You got the Dudleys back. That kind of throws in some craziness into the mix with that. There is some good tag teams out there. That it is. That is true. That is very true. But I mean, for the main event, I don't know. I mean, I'll just stick with this and try to find out what the main event would be for Reigns. Let's say he, let's just throw it out there and say that he keeps the title after the Royal Rumble because he's supposed to defend against 29 other superstars in the Royal Rumble match. We have no idea what number he's going to draw. It's just going to be wild. I honestly do hope that he wins. I do think that Roman Reigns has improved as a competitor. I think he's gotten a lot more charisma, not just like forced charisma. I think it's more organic now with him. I think he is becoming a lot more comfortable around just being Roman Reigns and just they're letting him be himself, and I really do appreciate that. And I think he is just coming off like he is gonna come and fuck shit up. Like, I still think he should get his own music just to have his own entity, own identity. And he should stop coming through the crowd because he's like trying to be like the Shield still, like carrying the torch for the Shield. That the group doesn't exist anymore. I don't really think he should go through the crowd anymore. But whatever. So, what would be a great opponent for Roman Reigns this year at WrestleMania, assuming that he still has the title? I don't know. I mean, with Cena out, I really thought that would have been a great match, even though people really don't want to see Cena in the title picture anymore. As far the WWE title, he's had the US title for a good few months. He was in that title picture for a while, and, the good part of last year. I mean, it may sound crazy, but I mean, if they throw one of the newer guys, it's just weird too, because like if he wins the Royal Rumble match, what they're gonna have to do something else at the pay-per-view in between. I think it's still gonna be Fastlane this year, so they're gonna still have to do a number one contender match for that. So who are they gonna put to face Reigns if he does win? They're gonna have to do some kind of other match. Maybe they'll do Elimination Chamber, or a Money in. I guess you could do a Money in the Bank, in the pay-per-view in between, to figure out who's going to win. If he wins, he might not win. He's got to win the Royal Rumble match first, obviously, to keep his title. But, oh man, let's see. If he faces, I mean, it sounds kind of crazy. I don't really think honestly, he's probably not ready for it, especially even though he had that good run with Cena. I would go with maybe Rusev, or that would be a good match too. Him versus Rusev, Roman Reigns versus Rusev for the title, or maybe I'm trying to think. I mean, they're leaning, because if they take the belt off of Reigns, they're looking, and people are probably gravitating towards it just because of the storyline, which is going to be bullshit if they do it. But I guess it could work. I mean, he basically only wrestles once a year. He wrestled. If Reigns doesn't have the title, I'll say it like this: if Reigns doesn't have the title, if they take the title off of Roman Reigns and they have him face Triple H at WrestleMania 32, I'm not going to say it would be. It's not that I wouldn't want to see it, because it would be a good match, good, dynamic, and just how everything has happened in the last few months. How he literally beat the shit out of him on Raw that one time. I mean, he totally destroyed him that day. that shit was crazy. That was like some Stone Cold shit right there. When him beating up Vince McMahon and everything like that. So I mean, that would be a good match. I don't know if they should do it, because like I said, they can't have it for the title, because you cannot have that as a title match. It will not work at all. But if he does keep the title, I mean, I don't know. I think Rusev, that would be a great match. It would be a great traditional wrestling match. Rusev is he really is a freaking brute. He's no freaking joke in the ring. Reigns, I think, could carry him. I don't really think he would have to carry him because they're both really, good workers and everything like that. So I do think it would be a great match. I think it could go at least 25 to 30 minutes. I think it would be good to see how Rusev, even if he doesn't win, obviously, to see if he can stand that pressure of being in the top contender spot, because I think he would be one of the new guys that they should probably push in the title scene. So that would be a really good match to do. I mean, like I said, if he doesn't have the belt and he fights Triple H, I'm not going to say I wouldn't like it, but it's just, it would just be too easy. Like, it's too predictable. We already know, like, all right, Triple H, you have to get your WrestleMania match in. You're gonna fight him. Now, I don't know, man. But we'll see. I mean, it's probably what they're gearing towards, since McMahon is, wants to be on TV again and, wants to throw Reigns in all these crazy matches. That's probably what they're going to end up doing. And what they might do is have McMahon or somebody else be a special referee or something in that main event match. And just, it just is what it is. But, I don't know. Leave your predictions below of, who you would want to see in these main events. What matches do you think they would make? What matches do you think they shouldn't make? That whole deal. So, just leave the feedback. Definitely appreciate that. And I'm going to get the hell out of here. And I will see you when I see you.